Some of the breaking news coming in. Walmart, the world's largest retailer, is issuing a new warning today, warning the company will have to raise prices due to President.
This morning, Donald Trump's trade war strikes again. Walmart announced today it plans to raise prices in stores across America because of Donald Trump's tariffs. Here is what Walmart will say on its earnings call. Quote, given the magnitude of the tariffs, even at the reduced levels announced this week, we aren't able to absorb all the pressure given the reality of narrow retail margins, unquote.
It makes my pocket feel short.
I knew when the tariffs were being talked about that it was going to increase everybody's cost of living.
Your pay isn't going up, so how do they expect for us to be able to pay our bills, buy groceries, and still be able to live a comfortable life? Cut back on the stuff you don't need and cut back on the quantity of what you get.
Actually, I've started garden. I love green beans and stuff, so I'm trying to grow my own.
Tariffs seem kind of scary, but as an American, if we have to pay a little bit more to keep jobs here, I'm not too worried about it.
And unfortunately, we as the citizens got to suffer from it.
Economy and the prices you pay. Tonight, Walmart warning customers that President Trump's moves on tariffs are forcing the company to raise some of its prices. The CEO saying even though the president raised and then reduced tariffs on China for now, the impact will be felt regardless.
Today, Walmart became the biggest retailer in the United States to announce it was going to be passing on tariffs in the upcoming months directly to customers. And a few weeks ago, there was a bunch of misinformation spread that Amazon was going to be putting the price of tariffs on its website. That was never true. But it did cause a whole kerfuffle between the White House and Amazon because they called it un-American. And Amazon was actually never going to put the price versus the price with a tariff. It was an idea that was floated internally and never something that they actually were going to do. And now Walmart is going to be passing these tariffs on to customers, but they're not going to be saying what the cost would have been without tariffs. Although the article I read today did have some details about what the difference in cost would be, and it was like 50 cents versus 54 cents for price per pound of bananas, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when I'm sure you're buying all of your goods from one store, these things add up, of course, like anything else. But I think it's so interesting that we're not seeing a huge amount of backlash or press around Walmart having these tariffs. And the only reason that the tariffs from Walmart are delayed is because Walmart was stockpiling for most of the first quarter, and now these stockpiles have run out, and we're actively going to be seeing tariffs impact the consumer.
Walmart, you do not need to raise prices because of tariffs. You need to raise prices because you treated all your customers like thieves, and now we don't shop there anymore. So Walmart says they're going to raise prices because of tariffs, but yet they failed to mention what they've been doing to push customers away. Only at Walmart are you proven guilty until you are innocent. How many times did you have to show a receipt before you left Walmart? Instead of having a Walmart greeter, now they have a receipt checker. And you guys are not Costco. I didn't buy a membership, so stopping random people and checking certain belongings to some and not others, that's profiling. But one thing I really hate is the reason you lose my money is I don't want to have to go and have to ask for an employee to unlock something as simple as deodorant or emery boards or nail polish or whatever because you have everything locked up. It's annoying. I'll go to a store where I can just go and pick it off a shelf and go to the cashier. Thanks. And I understand surveillance and security is paramount in a store like this, but when you walk down an aisle and the screens flash on with a bright light and you're being clocked for every breath you take, it's uncomfortable. I don't like it. You have 0 cashiers, but the employees you do hire are basically being paid minimum wage to be security through your whole store. Last time I was there, 1 cashier and they direct everybody to self-checkout, which is fine, but then you have 2 people just standing there, 2 employees talking to each other, and then they come over and then they peer into your bags to make sure you didn't snag anything and throw it in there when they weren't looking. What are these employees going to do? Run down the road and chase me because I took a Snickers bar if I did? And remember that sweet little Walmart greeter, the little old lady that had nothing to do, so she was just stand there and say hello and goodbye to you? Yeah, at my Walmart, she's been replaced by a legit security guard that is armed. Who wants to shop like this? I don't. So Walmart, if you want to keep blaming the tariffs as a way to get around how you treat your own customers, the people that bring the money in, you go ahead and do that. But all I know is most of us are sick of dealing with it, so we've moved on to other stores where we're not being treated like thieves.
So are you ready for those massive price increases? Brought to you courtesy of convicted felon Donald Trump, the most criminal and incompetent man ever to serve as president of the United States. The full effect of his tariffs have not yet been felt, but they're coming. And I know he took off the ridiculously high 145% tariffs on China because he buckled, because China called his bluff, and because he is a coward and an idiot. He had to eat crow and walk those tariffs back, but there are still tariffs in place, 30%. That is pretty significant. Take it from the chief financial officer of Walmart, who is warning that they're going to have to raise prices probably at the end of the month. Here's what he said during a recent interview on CNBC. The guy's name is John David Rainey. He's the CFO of Walmart. He said, quote, "Tariffs are still too high. We're wired for everyday low prices, but the magnitude of these increases is more than any retailer can absorb. It's more than any supplier can absorb. And so I'm concerned that the consumer is going to start seeing higher prices. You'll begin to see that likely towards the tail end of this month, and then certainly much more in June." So that's what you get when you elect an incompetent criminal as president of the United States, a man who had to file for bankruptcy 6 times. He's not a business genius. That was a character he played on TV. And you fools, you MAGA fools, you fell for it.
Sound the alarm. Walmart just announced prices will be going up and tariffs are the reason. Even after China rolled back some, U.S. imports are still at 30%. That's a tax on imports, which means that's a tax on your groceries. Walmart's CEO says they can't absorb it. So guess who does? You, me, Americans trying to feed their families. And while they pulled in $161 billion last quarter, they're still planning on passing the bill to us. So if you're wondering why your cereal, socks, and soap keep creeping up, it's not just inflation, it's tariff trickle down, and we're getting soaked.
Without a doubt, the number one reason Trump won the last election is because the price of groceries got too high. They did, bottom line. And now, today, Walmart's CEO, a guy who literally was at Trump's inauguration, said, well, we're raising prices, the tariffs and the trade uncertainty, like, we have to do it. And I'm not going to hear a peep today from all the people for years who complained about the price of groceries under Biden. And this is where hypocrisy comes into play. And this is where you are just beginning to see the impacts this trade war is actually going to have on us.
I don't think MAGA is going to be very happy about this. This is news from this morning, May 15th, and Walmart's CEO just announced that they're going to be raising prices. They're not just going to be raising prices, they're going to be raising prices because of the tariffs. I need to hear MAGA try to spin this to themselves and the people around them. I need to hear it. I need to understand. What is the excuse going to be this time? Because even with the 90-day tariff pause, the CEO is planning to raise prices on goods. This is a statement from the CEO, Doug McMillon. "We will do our best to keep our prices as low as possible, but given the magnitude of the tariffs, even at the reduced levels announced this week, we aren't able to absorb all the pressure given the reality of narrow retail margins." I think first and foremost, it's important to explain just how much CEOs do not give a fuck about you. They do not give a fuck. And he's lying. They're making billions and billions of dollars. There's no possible way that they absolutely have to raise prices in order to maintain. That being said, if we live in a society where we do not regulate corporations and we do not regulate capitalism, this is just going to happen over and over again. Because why would that CEO let your food remain low cost if he instead could take your money and go spend it on hookers? And because we currently live in a country full of bootlickers, we're all going to have to suffer together.
Walmart just announced they will have to raise prices this month due to the tariffs. Slow news day, huh? Slow news day? The CEO of our country's largest retailer saying, quote, "We will do our best to keep our prices as low as possible given the magnitude of the tariffs. Even at reduced levels announced this week, we aren't able to absorb all the pressure given the narrow reality of retail margins." The fact of the matter is, days ago, we had the lowest CPI inflation rate since 2021 at 2.3%. Inflation is coming down. I'm tired of all this fear porn of what could happen. Fear porn? It's the CEO of Walmart saying he's raising prices because they import a third of their overall merchandise and food from other countries, and 60% of those imports are from China, which still has a 30% tariff. Okay, so only a third of their products are affected. Not bad. Well, it's true that 66% of their products are made, assembled, or grown domestically, but even those products likely rely on imports, so the number of affected products is much higher. And you're telling me the world's largest retailer, who does around $20 billion in profit a year, can't absorb the costs? Walmart's net profit margin is only 2.9%, so they don't have a lot of room to wiggle. Well, Trump just lowered the tariff on China, so it could be a lot worse. The Yale Budget Lab says even after the China tariff reduction, our average overall tariff is still 17.8%, the highest since 1934. Look, cheap overseas ship may cost a little more for the time being, but we are paying a little extra to incentivize domestic production and fair free trade. The only fair free trade would be your life for an alpaca from Ecuador, so at least you'd be useful. What?
You want to hear a good one? Walmart's CEO says that he's going to have to raise prices at Walmart because of President Trump's tariffs. Sounds a little greedy, a little fishy to me, especially when Walmart runs around bragging about 75% of what they sell is made in America. Plus, last year's profits for Walmart totaled $169 billion. With a B, billion. Yeah, I'll be shopping somewhere else.
Breaking news, the CEO of Walmart came out and announced that they are going to be increasing prices by as much as 30%. This is going to start next month in response to the tariffs. And now is when we're going to start seeing the supply chain disruptions. Now is when we're going to start seeing all of the issues, because what these companies did was they started buying. Before these tariffs hit, they loaded up. And so now that enough time has lapsed, well, they're going to start essentially charging and passing those costs on to the consumer, as much as 30%. The CEO of Walmart said that this is unprecedented price increases. Unprecedented. There is a word that I never want to hear again, because in the past 8 years, I've heard that word way too many times. Unprecedented. Which unprecedented times. Unprecedented. I'm tired. I'm tired of unprecedented. We need boring again. In my opinion, we need boring.
Well, this one is sure to anger the Trump administration. Walmart has announced that they are going to be raising prices on a whole bunch of goods, and it's because of Trump's tariff war with China. So a lot of people shop at Walmart because of their affordable prices. So if their affordable prices are no longer affordable, it's going to hurt people, poor and working class families the most, and middle class families, all because Donald Trump thinks that tariffs somehow are going to make us great again. And what is great about putting a strain on families who are barely able to get by? That's what these tariffs do. Tariffs are a tax on consumers. And there was no Trump deal with China. That deal still puts tariffs 20% higher than they were before. It was a 10% across the board. It's a 30%, which means that goods could cost 20% more. Now, for Donald Trump, who sits on a golden toilet and everything in his apartment is filled with gold, maybe that doesn't matter. But that matters to working people. And people voted for him to lower prices. And all he has done is the complete opposite. Now, the good news here is that people are waking up to the fact that they know that it was a total sham. He was never going to lower prices. He's never done a single thing to lower prices. And all he wants to do is put tariffs in place because for some reason he seems to think by doing that, you're going to bring all of these jobs back to the United States. But even if that were to happen, it's going to keep prices sky high because it costs more to make things here. This administration will do nothing to lower prices. They lied to millions of Americans. And I think people are finally waking up to the fact that that is the reality, that this guy is completely full of it.
What's up, America? Walmart says they're raising prices because of tariffs. So the CEO of Walmart says that price hikes are starting at the end of the month because of tariffs. And they're doing that because they had a 4% increase in sales. So Walmart's profits have gone up, their sales have increased, and so they say that they're going to be raising prices because of tariffs. So my profits and sales go up. There's no actual evidence that tariffs are increasing prices. So Walmart says we have to increase prices in case because of tariffs. So they literally stated our bottom line increased 3 to 4%. Therefore, it means that we have to raise prices. So this is the way companies think. You have to understand, if profits go up, they don't lower prices, they just raise prices. Then if they go down, they stagnate the prices until profits go up again, and then they raise prices, never coming down. So Walmart's a piece of shit. It's time to put them out of business, and let's boycott Walmart totally. Walmart and their goddamn low prices. They don't have to raise prices, but they are, because their profits went up. I just want you to know that they're raising prices, saying it's tariffs, even though their sales are up 4%. Walmart.
So Walmart CEO has said that they're fixing to dramatically raise their prices due to the tariffs. Due to the tariffs. Now y'all remember back when Kamala said that she would pass a bill to prevent price gouging situations just like this. I wonder how hard she laughing right now. Now, me and my family only shop at Walmart when we have to. So, but it's like, y'all claim to have the cheapest prices, which they don't already. Why can't the CEO take a little price cut for a little bit? I mean, that's just a selfish, cheap person. You won't give your employees raises. You won't act on your promises and have the lowest prices. You don't. And now you're telling everybody you're finna raise prices because of the trade wars, because of the tariffs. Now, just because they put that, 90-day, whatever into act, they still finna make that money. They're gonna make some money, regardless. And the prices will probably stay high.
If you are following this tariff thing, you might remember there was a time that the Walmart CEO and Target and the other retail shops actually did meet Donald Trump and discuss about the effect of tariffs on food prices or other products which would actually impact Americans. And it seems like Donald Trump administration did not listen to that, and now they say any form of an action causes an opposite reaction. Just sounds like actions have consequences, so it was bound to happen if Donald Trump administration did not act up too quick. And now it seems like the Americans now are the ones that are going to suffer from these tariffs now, because these retail stores are definitely gonna push this tariff thing to consumers. It's gonna affect them. It's not gonna affect the retail shops. It's gonna affect the local consumer, the American. As I usually say, it's funny how prices of things rise, but your stipends, your remuneration, your salary, your wages do not rise. I mean, how you expect local citizens to afford basic needs or things that they require, they want, when they're constantly rising in prices and their salaries, their wages are just constant? It doesn't make sense. Now, this Walmart thing was just bound to happen. It's not a shocker to me. It's not a surprise. If you're following this, you definitely know that even other retail stores like Target, they are gonna do the same. They're gonna implement this, like they're gonna put prices. You've seen Amazon, although Amazon is like an online store, but you've seen what they said, like they were gonna put their prices and then show how tariffs has been added to the normal price, and like they're just washing their hands like they're not responsible for that. What do you think about this whole thing? Let me know in the comment section down there below. Share your thoughts. And with that, let me meet you in the next upload. Peace out.